back. This is Boomer Life on CIL 650.
We're back with Boomer Life, CIL 650. I'm George Gordon. On Boomer Life today, we are joined by Dr. Paul Zickler from Yes Wellness. Apparently, I need some work on my mouth. Doctor, we've been talking about some of the things that people can do in diet and exercise and supplements to help keep themselves not only healthier but happier. Let's cover a couple of more things. Let's go to the what you called the gut flora.
Yes.
Can you explain that for us?
Yes, the gut flora, you're going to hear a whole lot more. People are going to hear a whole lot more in terms of the gut being your second brain. Actually, it produces neurotransmitters just like your brain does. And there's increasing research now that shows that the health of your gut will reflect the health of your brain. And so it can impact your brain function. So all the research now just goes to reinforce again all the things we've talked about eating healthfully, using food as medicine. It is now the research is becoming more and more clear that a lot of that is the health of our gut. And if we can, like all the bad things I've told you about, sugar and processed food, encourage all the bad bacteria and kill the good bacteria. So things aren't happy down here. All those chemicals, the hormone releases, etc., transmitters, the things that are going to affect your brain function have started here. And so, it's a full circle sort of thing. We've always stood, it should be healthy to eat lots of greens and vegetables and fruits and minimize sugar and that sort of thing. But now we've got the evidence, and it's really important. So eating healthfully, like we've just discussed, and also one of the things that really helps our good flora in our gut is eating fermented foods. So you hear a lot of information on fermented drinks like kombucha, foods like sauerkraut, kimchi, anything that's fermented, and it's so easy to make that yourself. To make sauerkraut takes you time to cut the cabbage, stick it in a jar, and a special jar, and you wait 2 weeks and you got sauerkraut, and it's so healthy for you. If you take a couple tablespoons of that sauerkraut every day, you are going a long way in making that healthy. If you're making your gut healthy, you're making your brain healthy.
How long have we heard the terminology healthy body, healthy mind? And now it's come down to it. Now we've got the proof, as you say, that it just makes all that difference.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about the alphabet now, the vitamins. Let's start with vitamin D. How important is that? I personally was diagnosed a few years ago as not having enough vitamin D and take a supplement. And I did notice a difference. But how do you know when you need that vitamin D?
Well, first of all, I think everybody has to be on a vitamin D supplement. And then it's a matter of how much you need. And you can take a blood test. Now, unfortunately, I think in BC, your BC health coverage won't cover you to get the 1-hydroxy vitamin D being done. So you may have to pay for it. I think it's worth it. So if you're a neophyte that you're not taking any vitamin D and get your vitamin D level processed, then you get it and you'll know that you don't have enough vitamin D. And the levels of what we consider normal in sort of what the doctor will tell you is not quite the same as the ones that I've got on our post on YesWellness.com. They need to be higher. So the recommended dose for vitamin D through Canada Health Guide is like 400 to 700 international units a day. Well, really, you got to be taking thousands. Like you're probably taking 6,000 to 8,000 international units of vitamin D to put you in that healthy category. But taking a blood test will show you exactly. So if you take neophyte, get your blood test done after about a month or so of taking it. I would start maybe on 5,000 international units. And it's much easier to take the drops. They're easy to just take 5 drops than taking those big pills, 5 of those pills a day. So 5 drops a day with your breakfast in the morning, and then check it in a month or two and see if you've attained your levels. In the summertime, if you're getting adequate sun exposure, that means without sunscreen, if you're exposing at least 40% of your body for at least 20 minutes a day to sun, you can probably stop taking those supplements until the fall time when you know that you're not getting that anymore.
Interesting conundrum, isn't it? In a time where we're saying be careful when you go out in the sun because
Yes.
overexposure. So you have to pick the right times of the day.
Yeah, that's right.
And know when to get out.
Exactly. The other vitamin is vitamin B12, and especially vitamin B12, especially in seniors, both our vitamin D and vitamin B12, we don't absorb them as well, and we don't produce the added enzyme that is required for vitamin B12 absorption. So it's definitely important to get a vitamin B12, and I think all seniors should be on a vitamin B12. And it's definitely shown to be helpful in reducing the amount of brain shrinkage that happens and the brain function. So vitamin B12 is best given by injection, and it's cheap. And if you can't take it by injection, probably the next best thing is to get the product that you can spray under your tongue, where the capillaries, the blood in your capillaries absorb it better than what you have if you swallow it in your stomach. It's very poorly absorbed in your stomach.
I guess people really need to ask questions. I mean, we've offered them a resource. You can go to YesWellness.com. You can talk to your doctor, your care provider, be it your standard Western kind of philosophy or naturopath. But you have to educate yourself. You have to keep finding out more about what may affect you and what you can do about it.
Yes, you have to. That's right. My job as a clinician, as a healthcare giver, is to empower you to take action on your health. I mean, that's the most important thing.
Okay. Just touch on stimulus, things like music and challenging your mind.
Well, yeah, this is the sort of, we're going to talk about a few things that is covered in basically in terms of making your brain healthier. So listening to music while you're working out, doing crossword puzzles, going on the internet and browsing and looking up things. And, for seniors, it might not be so good for us when we're trying to do things where we go down and we say, oh, that looks interesting. I think I'll read about that. And then it says, click on here for this information. You keep on going, and before you know it, an hour's gone by, and you wonder what's happened. For seniors, that's probably a good thing, because you are really engaging your mind and keeping yourself going. Now, then, the last component in this, in terms of your self-development, is basically being mindful of yourself, being healthy in yourself, being happy with yourself, whether it's through meditation, having a healthy spirit, yoga, being able to turn all those voices that you hear incessantly from the left side of your brain to do this and do that, and you haven't done this and you haven't done that. Just zone out and be mindful of the now, the present. And you hear so much about that, being in the now, being in the present. It's basically turning off those voices and being comfortable in your own skin. That, combined with really extending yourself to helping others and helping your community and being out in the community, socializing and doing those kinds of things, really makes all the other things that you're doing so much better.
A plan to do nothing is a plan for disaster.
Yeah.
Well, that's it's interesting that you mentioned that. I think that as people get older, and we talked about being engaged and trying to retire and trying to step back from things, but to find those other things in life, that when you get up in the morning, I've got purpose, and I can, if I'm helping somebody else, then I'll feel better about myself. And that's, a lot of people have a hard time grasping that.
Yeah. Yeah, and once you do it, it makes you feel so much healthier. It's so much better. I mean, it just, with if people listening today just stopped eating sugar and cutting down on processed foods and doing the minimum of exercise, like walking 20 minutes a day, in 2 weeks, I guarantee you'll say, I feel better. And that should really start the wheels in motion and getting more interested in seeing what else you can do.
All right. Coming up in our last segment, we're going to be talking about something very special, nootropics, okay, and products that are available. But at this point, I want to remind you that if you have any questions for Dr. Ziegler, that you can go to YesWellness.com. They have tons of information about different things that you can think about, different things that you can do for yourself, different products that are easily available, all of the substances that you may have heard about but you're not sure. There is a place on that website, YesWellness.com, where you can go and place your questions, and they'll get back to you within 7 days, as a matter of fact. Also, we'd like to remind you that you can go to CIAL650.com, and there you can listen to the podcast of our show, and you can get more information about when it's playing, go through some of the stuff that we've talked about here today. If you have any more information, any more questions that you might have on that, then we will be able to direct you again to YesWellness.com. Coming up in our last segment, nootropics. I'm George Gordon. This is Boomer Life. Yes Wellness on CIAL 650.
Celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life on CIAL